Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, a lovely little Saturday morning over here getting underway, and we actually have plenty to talk about, especially with the closure on Friday for CME, of course, with regards to Bitcoin. And with that said, we'll be taking a look at a few altcoins today as well, plus a little bit of traditional market. So I'd like to wish you the best and the haps of the happies. Let's get into it right now with the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. A couple of big things actually rearing up their massive heads. That would be first and foremost Bitcoin dominance. So once again, taking another major leg down. We saw it come down, I think about to 52 or 52.5% yesterday. That was just in the last 24 hours. Now coming down to almost another full percent. However, I would say that that's a greater part of a full percent right there. Yeah, 51.2. Pretty fucking phenomenal in just one day. I imagine this is going to be a good time to go check out the top 10 best coins, top 10 worst coins, top 10 best coins. We see Doggy Coin in there again, so another 36% stacked on whatever fucking ridiculous gain it had yesterday with I think it was like 150%. We can actually check it out today, I suppose. But everyone else, actually most of the same ones that we saw there yesterday, a lot of 2017 shitcoins, a lot of 2017 forks with Bitcoin SV, and I think Bcash is in there as well. Yes, indeed it is. So with that in mind, it is very much altcoin time, I suppose you could say. And for all the people saying that altcoin season is like coming in summer that is, I would really push back on a statement like that. How can you not look at this as some sort of if this is not alt season, I don't know what is, man. This has been phenomenal for most alts, mostly led by the DeFi sector, which is actually now getting a little bit shitted on, you might say. But on the whole, if we enter into this rotational market, which I believe that we are right now, especially with regards to last Friday or this past Friday closure, I imagine that those get picked up over time. Anyways, Fear and Green Index, what do we see? 76, so still stuck within the 70s with Bitcoin pretty much right under its prior all-time high, and open interest coming down a little bit from yesterday to today as well. I believe another about $250 million that is, and just also in between about 13.5 billion with a B and 12.5 billion is where you see it right now. So we do see open interest essentially come down alongside price action within the context of a greater uptrend. So I do still look at this as more or less good. We should go into the market data tab right now to kind of dial this one in a little bit further. And yes, indeed, I still like how open interest is still kind of making higher lows and following the trend, precipitating the trend, you might even say. And of course, on price action right here with the line chart, I think it's pretty damn stock standard. You can see, you should be able to see a trend on line charts incredibly easy. In fact, if you want just a very quick, easy little tooltip for defining trend, use a line chart. It's a lot more visible in a lot of cases, and this would be an example of that, in my opinion. Anyways, what's also very interesting to myself is that funding rates have come down all the way down to a global rate of 0.037%. So very much not even a consideration for myself right here. Again, this is within the context of Bitcoin in a macro uptrend, long-term time frame uptrend, medium-term time frame uptrend, short-term time frames kind of flip-flopping around there. But more importantly, we do see that Bitcoin is just a couple $1,000 below its prior all-time high, and the funding rate is really not making you pay to hold those long positions. So long hodlers are more or less comfortable here over the weekend, I imagine. And we see that most major exchanges actually pretty much what I consider parity, with BitMEX 0.01%, Huobi same thing, Binance a little bit further out there at 0.59, Bybit 0.63. Not anything too crazy though. So it really becomes an issue when I see that over not like 0.1 for 48 hours to 72 hours. That's when it becomes like very concerning. But in this case right here, I see no major issues. Even the perennial outlier FTX is even below there as well. But by the way, that's going to be taken out on the next update because there's just something wrong with their data feed, according to our developers. Just not working properly with our app here. Anyways, is there anything else that I want to get into before we move on? Yeah, I should announce this as well. Of course, if you are interested in joining the Discord, I see a lot of people joining the Discord, but also getting kicked out of the Discord just about 10 minutes later. There's a reason for that. We have one extra step within our Discord to verify yourself in order to participate in the Discord community. And all you have to do is respond to the DM that the alt identifier bot will send you. It's going to show up in your top left corner of your Discord, where your direct messages go to, and just follow that up. It'll ask you to verify yourself with one of your other social medias, and that is it'll take all of just a minute or so. Here's the thing though, if you don't complete that within 10 minutes of basically joining, the alt identifier bot will just automatically kick you. So in order to get around that, or if that does happen to you, just leave the server, come back in if you so desire with using the link in the description below, and you can repeat that process to infinity and beyond if you desire. So with that in mind, let's move on into the charts. Actually, I want to start off with Cme Chart right here. So we laid out a condition yesterday on the live stream saying, hey, if this condition is not met, then I would be looking for further downside, probably over the weekend, maybe into next week, somewhere down around about 58 to 57,000 bucks. That condition was not met. That was with a closure right here below. I guess I actually had this on spot price action, but that would have been a closure below about $61,000. This one right here, obviously relevant as well, but I think that it's a little more obvious for the for the old breakout retest buyers right here, at the $60,000 test yesterday. Anyways, the response thus far good, and I imagine that weekend price action is looking it's actually looking okay right now to do my morning perusal. But for what it's worth right now, I like the way that CMEs did close over the weekend. Weekly is still looking more or less fine to me. Yes, I'm sure that someone's going to say, but that's a shooting star dildo right there, Krown. Yes, but we're not on volume, and technically speaking, we obviously don't have follow through just yet. But until we actually do get follow through with coming down below the low of this past week's dildo, then I would say that this is, inconsequential, and I still go with the overall trend, of which I believe, did we close a 3-day yesterday? No, we did not. It's going to close on Monday. What about a 2-day? Yeah, that's also going to be a no. All right, so negative ghostwriter. Let's move on. Anyways, over here into spot price action, same sort of thing. Overall, I do still like this chart, and as long as Bitcoin is especially above 60,000 bucks, even on like a short-term time frame closure, like a 4-hour or even a 2-hour, I actually do favor a little bit of reaccumulation right here. I think this becomes a little more obvious on our short-term time frames, like the 4-hour. In fact, again, into the weekend here, as we do see that the 4-hour is playing off that same trend line that we identified yesterday, but not on this fucking godforsaken chart. But yes, coming in from these last couple lows right here, we're talking about 25th of March low, we're talking about 7th of April low, and then yes, once again, just yesterday actually, or I guess last night for myself. And that is also going to be considered a rejection of getting into the bearish control zone, which I do put a lot of weight on in just in its essence as well. On top of that, we did see that the DMI minus signal has been quickly faded. The ADX was the key signature in this one. It never got above the threshold. And so that was kind of letting you know that, hey, this is not like a full-on breakdown, at least yet. I'm not saying that this still can't happen. It certainly can happen, obviously. I mean, if anyone's been in this market long enough, you know that anything's fucking possible. But at this point right here, I look at that as a one-off. I look at that as essentially sideways consolidation and without any sort of major directional impact in this case. And we can also see this, that it's not necessarily broken any structures here. So with that in mind, I do look at this as more or less good over the whole, especially with the momentum also just popping back up and heading up northwards. With Bitcoin, what would be considered putting in another higher low on our medium and higher term timeframes, like our 12-hour and above. So looking at this right here, I actually do rather like this too. We do see that the 12-hour actually has a similar trend line coming in from the last couple lows. This one's going to be protecting right around the neutral zone if it does indeed get there. See that actually our last few highs have been governed by this one right here too. That would obviously imply a little bit of downside here, but here's what I would say, and here's what I'd really be coming away from this video with. As long as Bitcoin essentially just does not break below the 20 simple now on the 12-hour, I look at this as likely a bullish reset right here. We see a lot of that already happening in the short-term timeframes, and even on the DMI, we see that the DMI plus is actually very close to getting dominant on this one as well. Now, of course, I want to see that alongside the ADX strengthening just to avoid false signals like we just saw for the 4-hour in that case. But for what it's worth right now, I think that things are still more or less looking fine, and this would be considered yet again another higher low within the context of a series of higher lows. If we go over to our regular charts over here, I imagine that's going to be accompanied by some sort of hidden bullish divergence. We already see it on the 4-hour actually, multiple drives off this current low right here. It's a little bit of sideways, and then I'd be looking for a move to the upside. See if the 12-hour has it as well, and yes, what do you fucking know? It does, which you would expect on a move like this. We do see hidden bullish divergence from this area to this area. This technically is not confirmed just yet. It will confirm, as you can see, denoted by the dotted trend line right here, or just dotted line. I think it's not really a trend line, but more importantly with that, any sort of a closure here or higher, that being above 62,200, and yes, it will confirm, and then that would have a short-term targeted region right around about 63,500. My dyslexia speaking up once again, and in more of a medium-term target, pretty much right around the prior time high. And I really like those signals if they do get confirmed, especially when you're kind of oscillating right below your prior time high in this case. And same thing, vice versa for a downtrend and hidden bearish divergence in this case. But what I'd really be looking for is first for this one to be confirmed, play into the 4 hour as well. Look at those momentum oscillators turn up. And then, yeah, short term, 63.5. And then medium term, I'd be looking at basically 65 almost. At that point, I still do remain with my long-term, they're not so much long-term targets anymore, but we've been having them for a long time. How about that? Yeah, there we go. Of $70,000 about, based off of the Fibonacci extension from this last major base from about $42,000 to the upside versus $29,000 to the downside. It's also going to be in line with the measure move off of this as a pattern target. And I do want to spend a little bit more time here for a second. So if you are looking at this as an ascending triangle, which technically speaking, I mean, there's certainly some good counter points to it not being one at this case, because a lot of the time you really don't want to see this get retested like this soon. But if you are going by the book, and I'll from my own thoughts on this in a second, but if you are going by the book, I mean, this would be your classic like breakout retest. A lot of people actually wait for those. In my experience, looking at breakouts that technically retest the breakout area is not a sign of strength. Usually you don't get two chances to buy like a really good breakout. Now, could it just be like a slow melt up? Yeah, I think that's probably more or less what's happening here. But overall, technically speaking, if you are a pattern trader, if you are looking at this as a ascending triangle, which I would agree with in this case, that is available to you as long as we're essentially above the $60,000 pivot. Now you can probably even use Friday's low as a bit of a continuation point there, although I do hesitate with those because a lot of the time they're going to be a lot less or a lot smaller percentage hit rate. Anyways, as far as this goes, yep, still looking at this over here again, as long as that condition is met. And if we peruse around the other higher term timeframes on spot price action, which is actually fucking trading right now, what do we see on the buy daily? We still see momentum oscillators up and northward angled. We do see DMI plus is flirting around with actually getting above the threshold, and of course we do see that ADX is very much above there already. I do still like that overall, especially in conjunction with 2-day Stokes. Of course, 3-day is doing the same thing here too. In fact, a little bit more advanced in this case, where we do see the 3-day is actually dominant as far as the DMI plus goes with ADX strengthening. I do really like that signal. Plus 3-day Stokes right here are looking a little bit tired, to be fair, but that's essentially telling you that, hey, if you are looking at this kind of, if you are looking at this, what you're looking for, if you're bullish, you're looking for resolution like within this next 3 days, really. If it spends more than like the next half week not continuing to the upside here, yes, this will inevitably come down. Obviously, this signal is going to get faded, and you're probably going to get a breakage of structure at the same time. It's probably going to all happen in conjunction, and at that point, you're going to have like a real reversal here, at least on the medium term time frames, and be looking for a move down, probably back down to like 55 or 56,000 bucks. Is that what I'm looking for overall? No, I still remain bullish here. I actually really like the way that this last 3-day dildo closed, and this one is closing tonight. No, not tonight. Tomorrow night. So tomorrow night we'll have both the 3-day, daily, and weekly actually all closing at the same time. So I'd be comfortable saying that if we don't see continuation to the upside by middle of next week, then I would be looking at that as a sign of not strength, we'll put it, and probably time to kind of put a little bit of the brakes on for a second. As I imagine, we're probably creating some divergences on the other side, if I had to guess as well, which we can just double check right here. Yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be picture perfect, but for right now, I do see a lot more bullish things still on the higher term time frames. In fact, they're more or less unchanged, and I do believe that yesterday's move was a pretty damn good testament to that. We do see hidden bullish divergence on the 3-day over here being resolved into the bullish control zone. I really like that. I'm sure that someone's going to say, but Krown, there's bearish divergence here. First off, very rarely do I see bearish divergence coming at this end of the bullish control zone. And usually those ones are going to be very weak anyway. So the way that I look at it right now is pretty much what we said yesterday. Bitcoin 3-day backfill and very likely back up, at least for the short-term timeframes. I will get bullish looking for a continuation essentially to those deeper $60,000 targets. If and when Bitcoin either closes a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo above about 63,500 pivot, or a 12-hour above about 63,000 bucks. If one of those two things happens, obviously higher term time frame is going to be more confidence inducing here. Then I'd be looking for Bitcoin to just continue the slow trudge up, again, mediated by this last higher low that Bitcoin is attempting to put in right here, which again will confirm hidden bullish divergence with any sort of close. Is it even above 62? Actually, no, it needs to be above 62.2. That is 62,200. That is. Anyways, I do want to check out the 2-day. Did the 2-day, is that one closing tomorrow? Yep, that one's closing tomorrow. So actually we have daily, 2-day, 3-day, and weekly all closing simultaneously tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Still like the 2-day for what it's worth right here. And I would even go as far as saying that last 2-day low, which is basically that $6,000 number, that is a decent continuation point at the very least for a move down to wherever the 21 is in this case. And that's going to be around 57,500-ish region. So I do still think that that move is available, but as long as we're above yesterday's low, I don't look at it as playable. Or could we do this on a closing basis too? I probably wouldn't do it in this case. It's a little bit too sloppy right here for me to do much with. If anything, I'd actually be saying like 59.9, but that's not helpful because you'd already take out yesterday's low anyways if that were to be met. So with that said, this would be like one of the very few times, very few times actually would actually be looking at a wick lower rather than a closure lower in order to kind of judge continuation to the downside. In this case, again, we still have the 200 simple and 200 exponential average also in line with those downside targets. So we are talking about a multi-$1,000 move at that point, $2,000 plus. So I do think that would very much be relevant, but for right now, especially with the advent of yesterday post stream and also what we're seeing over the early weekend, it does look like Bitcoin's trying to set in a bit of a low right here, which is going to be considered a higher low on medium and higher term timeframes, or just continuation on higher term timeframes. It's not really going to register on like a 2-day, for example. That is just continuation right there, especially on extremely low HVP. So we see extremely low HVP while Bitcoin's essentially just grinding up the all-time highs. That's traditionally going to be a pretty damn strong signal. Anyways, or it's going to err on the side of bullishness, of course. Anyways, we are already 60 minutes into this bitch, and okay, we went over here. Yes, we want to look at caretaker ranges. It's consolidating once again, actually giving us a bull zone consolidation, but that's an hourly. Let's go to a 4-hour. And what are we getting right here? Neutral zone consolidation. Okay, so that still would be more or less on the Bula-ish side. And if you do have the STC, I want to just call it like a really interesting, but for whatever reason it works type thing. Whenever you see the momentum part of it, come down and test around, especially the yellow, or I don't even think I've ever really even seen it get to like the green, but if it comes down and tests the yellow, and especially like if it double bottoms there, those typically are actually good little short-term reversal points, and we actually are going to have that available to you right here. Same thing what you see right here, right? Comes down, tests it, boom, next momentous drive to the upside. Let's find another one. This one doesn't quite come down and test it, neither does this one, but those ones are marking off some pretty nice lows. Let's see, we have this one right here too, and that's kind of what I'm talking about on the double bottom. It's not necessarily like perfectly, or that's not necessarily like the proper terminology, but you can see it comes down here, boom, tests it a second time, and then nice good momentous drive to the upside. And I imagine that we might have something similar. Also, this one over here, a good example as well. Test down there, boom, continuation drive to the upside from signal given at about 48.3 all the way to a high of about $53,000. It doesn't look like much here, but that is, a $5,000 fucking move, which is insane. And same thing over here, and so on and so forth. Anyways, my point is that this would actually be aligning with, yet again, another one of those opportunities. Probably spends a little bit of time going sideways here, but I would generally be looking for an upside resolution. I am going to be mostly bullish on all time frames once again. Short term yesterday did have a chance to turn around to be short term bearish, but we didn't. But we didn't take out the last higher low right here. So fair enough in that case. That was simply a no trade, I suppose. Although I'm not really trading these short-term timeframes anyways right now. Not that I don't think that you can do it. It's just I've been like mostly reliant on high-term timeframe strategies as of recent times because, well, I mean, sometimes you get a fucking bullish market, right? And you get a chance to kind of play more or less these moves, or I guess not so much on this chart right here, but you get to play these moves over here, these moves over here, these moves over here, as Bitcoin does, once again, do the generational massive girthy green dildo party to the upside. Anyways, okay, cool. Do we want to check out Ethereum? We could check out Ethereum really quickly. Ethereum also makes me think that we still see this one drive upwards and onwards. Ethereum looking really fucking good here with just 1 day to the weekly closure. I imagine we don't even have any hidden divergences here. This one's just continuation, is by textbook definition. Looking at the daily right here, this one's a lot more obvious than what we see on Bitcoin, in the sense of looking for a downside continuation point. AKA, I would essentially feel very confident saying, look, I'm bullish on all time frames, looking for deeper $2,000 targets to get hit somewhere around $3,000 essentially, as long as Ethereum remains above yesterday's low. That's 2298 spot 60. Again, 2298 spot 60 on Stamp. Or sorry, this is Finex here. But overall, I really like daily RSI, still looking more or less healthy, wedging its way into the bullish control zone. Good. See what the 2-day looks like. It's just literally continuation. This is fucking bullish. The 3-day, very, very good. TSI turning up in the critical zone, playing out the same trend line, coming in all the way back from, oh, I guess I already have it in there, coming in all the way back from, this is April 2020. And that is actually about a year. That is literally about a year. So pretty damn powerful stuff right there. All momentum pointing to the north side. And yes, I would still be looking for, well, first off, we've hit our $2,500 target. Hey, that's that Fibonacci bullshit out again. Goddamn fibs. And then the next big one I'd be having in my mind is about 2,800. 2,800 with, potential spikes to 3,000, but yeah, I would still be bullish more or less here, and I would still be looking for this one to just continue the uptrend, looking more or less good. If we go down to the short-term time frames, is there anything to be aware of right here? 4-hour looks a lot more obvious as far as the higher low goes. We have hidden bullish evidence right here. TSI is looking to maybe play off this trend line if it will. It does have something coming in right there. I imagine Ethereum Stokes on 4 hours going to be, there you go. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. All right, so looking like it wants to cross the upside, basically rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone, while the DMI plus is setting up for potentially a signal here too, in conjunction with what we looked at back and over here. Yeah, I'm bullish on Ethereum right now. A little bit of sideways range, I imagine today, could very easily come back down to 24, just like Bitcoin could very easily come back down to, $61,000 or even a little bit below there. But ultimately, as long as it holds yesterday's low, I am bullish here, and I'm bullish coming into this next week. And I actually do think that we're going to see quite the move in this next week or two here. We're already getting to the last 2 weeks of April, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, it's like literally 2 weeks. I just checked my calendar right there. Jesus, time is flying, man. What about Ripple? Ripple me nipples, doing the same thing. 4 hour, putting in a bit of a higher low. I'd be looking for this one to pop back up to about 180. Probably even makes another drive towards $2. Looking more or less fine to me. Again, long term, I still think it gets back up to like 285 region. Probably even makes new all-time highs long term. But at least short term, looking more or less fine there too. Do we want to look at, oh wow, Litecoin having itself a major die again? These consolidations below your prior all-time high are typically really strong, and this one's breaking out to very likely new all-time highs. We can actually generate some pretty nice targets here. Litecoin's honestly going to be a very interesting one to watch. Oh, looks like I already have it in. Okay, sweet. So first area of interest to watch. I mean, we're at a major one right here, but that's your prior all-time high. So obviously that's going to be short-term pullback. But have we already seen that? I think actually I've already seen that. Over the next month or two, though, I would be looking for this one to make a move up towards 450 and then 500. Big area of interest just above 500, about 525 it looks like. Yeah, about 530-ish region. But for 450 along the way, and this one's looking really fucking good. Really like this one. This would actually be an example of a perfect death cross here, or sorry, perfect golden cross here too. Gets a golden cross between the 55 and the 200 while it's consolidating. Fucking perfect, man. Textbook right there. A lot of people don't even know how to fucking play moving average cross, which is rather funny. And then they'll like run a fucking study on it, and it's like moving average crosses don't work. Yeah, well. Yeah, you're actually taking those, right? In this case right here, this is an example of a really good one. And actually break this down for a second here, especially on the program. This should be just good follow-up. Again, I'm referring to the 55, that's the green, and the 200, that's the purple. And when you see them right here, as you're seeing them actually cross the upside after a long period of them kind of being like OLS together, right? When Litecoin was below, obviously like $60 for the creator portion of 2020, right? Anyways, more importantly, what makes this a good signal is that after those spend a lot of time kind of like grinding up near each other, and they actually do get the golden cross right here, that comes alongside of a consolidation that essentially tests down into it. To consider that test down to the 10 simple right there as that test. And that is what you're looking for, because it gives you an area to kind of manage risk off of. And this was also on confirmation of a trend reversal. So you have the trend on your side, plus moving averages. Momentum was also turning on your side too, as you can see from the TSI. And then you get a test down to the lowest period moving average. Classic textbook shit, and that's what will happen on I wouldn't say extremely, but on more or less bullish assets. Sometimes you can test a little bit deeper. A lot of people like to buy on the 55. That would be myself included, or the 21. But in more bullish assets, they're not going to come down there. In this case, this one's looking really fucking good right there. Anyways, what else should we check out? I guess Link. do some link for the Marines. This one's going to print, or very likely to print, new all-time highs coming this next week. Weekly TSI having a fresh cross the upside. Weekly RSI hidden bullish divergence back into the bullish control zone on new all-time highs. I still stick with my $50 targets, man. I still stick with my $50 targets. We've already hit our medium-term target at 45. We already had kind of a pullback from there, but fibs don't work, sir. Well, that looks like a bit of a response to me, so fair enough. Yeah, I'd be looking for this one to try another move to the upside. Looking good. One of the strongest ones, 4 hour, putting another higher low right here. I'd look for this one to probably even try and move today. What else do we want to look at? Traditional markets really quickly. Do we still remain with our long-term bullish biases on these? Oh, what do you fucking know? NASDAQ closing on new all-time highs. Yeah, that's really bearish. That's fucking bearish. 14,300 still in sights and $15,000 long-term. This has to make me bullish, especially on Bitcoin coming into this next week, mostly because tech sector is going to be having a lot of what's called earnings coming in this next week, and typically, you know, strong stocks what's called rallying to their earnings. In this case right here, you know, you're seeing that right in front of your very face. I mean, also the financial sector had their earnings last week, and obviously XLF does, you know, play a major portion in NASDAQ, and those were good as well. So up and onwards is the name of the game. Weekly RSI tells a story. I mean, I think that this one's just getting going right here. Looks fucking good, man. So I'm gonna be bullish on that. Strong correlations to Bitcoin makes me very likely bullish on that too. SPY, same shit. Dow Jones, same shit. I think I'll cut it off right there, man. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. Again, Bitcoin, I'm bullish on all time frames as long as as long as Bitcoin maintains above yesterday's low. If Bitcoin does take out yesterday's low, I would look for a move down somewhere around about $57,500 to $58,000. It looks like. I do think that Bitcoin could very easily play another move down to like $61,000, but that is not taking out yesterday's low. I would not use closures on this one in this case. I would actually use a wick below yesterday's low to judge continuation. For right now, all hidden bullish divergences lining up on short-term timeframes, now coalescing with medium and higher term timeframes, you can see over here, and that will drive my next biases back up for a short-term move to $63,500 and $65,000 respectively, and any sort of a 4 hour closure above $63,500 or a 2 hour closure in this case too, I think could work. And yes, I'd basically be looking for new highs coming into this next week price action. With that said, I want to wish you the best and the happiest. Take care. I salute you and see you soon.